They have this massive, beautiful oak tree in their front yard, their rental property, but the roots got all intertwined with all the pipes in their foundation and whatnot. And that's when they found out they didn't have foundation coverage on their policy.
Hi, my name is Julia Spooner, and today we are going to talk about misconceptions in the home buying process, specifically when it comes to home insurance. So today I have Julia with me.
Hi, I'm Julia.Young. I'm with Goosehead Insurance. Super glad that Julia invited me here today.
So today we're going to start off by talking about some misconceptions. So when it comes to buying a home, a lot of people don't know what home insurance is and actually what it covers. So would you like to give us a little introduction about what you do and why it's important?
Yeah, sure. It is funny. Everyone's lender just tells them, hey, you need homeowners insurance. Figure that out, by the way. No one, or a lot of people, especially if it's their first time buying a house, aren't really sure why they need it. Pretty much for you guys, right? You have a huge financial interest in this house. If it burns to the ground, how is the person going to continue to pay the mortgage? How is the person going to rebuild the house, right?
Exactly.
You want some backing on that. Yeah. So that's kind of where I come in. As a broker, I have a bunch of different homeowners insurance companies I can write policies with, figure out the right one for somebody's personal needs when it comes to the particular house, zip code they're in, their loss history, all that fun stuff. So, yeah, definitely important when you're going to buy a house, though, right?
Exactly. So you said something about a fire. So you cover fire, I'm assuming floods. What else? What specifically do you look at when someone comes to you with a home? What are the specific things that help you determine how much homeowners insurance is?
Yeah, the biggest thing on one of these policies is going to be the replacement cost of the house. What a lender wants to see if someone has a mortgage on the property is that the house is fully insured to what is called replacement cost, which means every single carrier is going to calculate, okay, number of bathrooms, here's how nice the kitchen is, here's the type of roof it has, and they come up with a number based off of all this data of how much the labor and materials of the house would take to rebuild. So this amount, let's say $450,000 is what is deemed the replacement cost of the home. You might have a $300,000 mortgage on the house, but the replacement cost, the coverage A of the homeowner's insurance, needs to be set at that $450,000 amount.
Yeah.
So you want to see that full replacement cost.
Exactly.
I'm sure you deal with that all the time.
Yeah. And that is a big misconception people have too. They think that, hey, my loan amount, I have a loan for $300,000, so my homeowner's insurance covers $300,000, like you said, but that's actually not the case all the time.
Yeah, big misconception there. So yeah definitely important that we both educate all the home buyers we deal with on that thing.
Yeah. And talking about education too with homeowners insurance, something that I've seen lately, and I'm sure obviously that we've seen homeowners insurance rates, pricing has increased too. And on my side, on the lending side, I've seen that some people have gotten their homeowners insurance quotes later on in the process, and now they no longer qualify for their loan amount. They don't qualify for what they can afford. It's now too expensive. So I've been finding it more important that once people are looking in areas and they find a house they like, to immediately call you, an insurance agent, and figure out how much is this actually going to cost.
Yeah, absolutely. I love working with lenders like you who see the value in that, because also an approval that you have at a carrier one day might not exist the next week, especially in this North Texas area that we're in.
Yep.
Companies are pulling in and out, raising their rates up and down, week to week, day to day. It's been so insane. And yeah, you don't want to have a false misconception of, oh, this is what my monthly payment is going to be with the mortgage, taxes, and insurance. And then all of a sudden, this insurance agent calls you and says, ooh, it's going to be $300 more a month than you thought. You want to have the client in the right mindset, that home buyer kind of knowing what they're getting into. And of course, as an agent, I'm able to knock off as many coverages as someone might like on a policy. I'm always coaching people, though, on this is what you're missing out on.
Yeah.
This is what your lender needs to see.
Mhm.
We're not going to be able to just scrape a whole policy. So it's important to actually get something good in place,
Yeah.
but it still needs to be affordable, which is a huge thing we're seeing in North Texas.
Yeah. I've seen that a lot too. I just, for example, had an instance with one of my clients. We originally got a quote for, I'll say X amount, $227 for their coverage, and then determined that their roof was 12 years old and it doubled there. So we had an instance there where he no longer could afford his monthly payment. It was out of his range because we didn't have that information on the roof. But, that was on our end too, where we didn't have all the information up front. And I learned my lesson of, hey, making sure that this is done at the very beginning. So from now on, I coach and give the context, hey, call your homeowner's insurance agent, call it.
Oh my gosh.
Do you see that often with roofs and flooding and different things like that?
Yeah, the roof age, especially in the DFW area, is a huge factor of the rate you're going to get. That makes me so upset though. I never want to see homeowners insurance be the thing that sinks the deal, but it actually has become the case. It's interesting. I think you and I were talking about this last week. I'm licensed in both Texas and Nebraska, randomly enough. And something that the state of Nebraska has done recently to offset the increased cost of homeowners insurance, which is getting more expensive there, just like Texas, is they have lowered the property taxes to kind of help people balance those escrow accounts more.
Yeah.
Really would love to see the state of Texas do that. I've heard it's in discussion or something. So we're hopeful on that.
We will see.
But yeah, for the meantime, it's important to just work with a broker who's able to weigh multiple options, hopefully find you a rate that's within your price range, to qualify for the house.
So what is your best advice that you would give someone who's beginning to start in the home buying process from an insurance agent? What's your best advice?
Like you said, shopping early is always good so that you're not caught by surprise. Asking questions, working with an agent who's kind of able to educate you on this is line by line what the policy is built out as. Definitely ask about what your deductibles are going to be. Here, actually, in every single state now, every policy is going to have a separate deductible for wind and hail related claims, which is generally way higher than your out-of-pocket pay if you have any other sort of claim. So that's an important one to check on for sure. But yeah, just making sure you know the ins and outs of what you're actually spending all this money on insurance for.
Yeah, and having someone to sit there and explain it to you line by line if that's what you need.
Yeah, for sure. So when you're working with a buyer, you're trying to, pre-qualify them, see what they're going to be able to pay, or they finally decide on a house. How do you estimate the homeowner's insurance cost for someone just off the bat?
Yeah, so typically, if someone is in the beginning of process and they're just interested in a specific area, I typically will do research on what I'll look at the roof. Sometimes when you get the information from the contract, they have information about roof and kind of the median area homeowners insurance. But if someone is really interested in their like, I'm going to put an offer on this house, that's when I typically call in a homeowner's insurance and I'll personally get a quote, or I will send contacts to them for them to get a quote, just to have that idea in mind. I like to have the correct number.
Okay, gotcha.
Because like I said, with insurance increasing, it's important that I don't want to break my client's heart where I tell them all of a sudden, yes, hey, you can afford this house. And all of a sudden, because of homeowners insurance, you can't afford it. So typically when I start, I always look up the taxes on the home, and then I'll start calling my agents and getting an estimate of what it is. Because it's not exact until we're later in the process, but getting an estimate for the area.
Yeah. That's good that you do that for your clients.
It's important. Being a loan officer, I spend a lot of my time. I've been working a lot with, like you said, first-time home buyers. They are new in the process and they're getting educated. And that's my job, is to hold their hand and educate them about the process. And so I don't want to steer them the wrong way as well and break their hearts when they found a house that they love.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we go, do you have any stories from clients where things went wrong with their homeowner's insurance policy, or they realized they didn't have stuff covered?
I got off the phone today with someone, actually. I was running homeowners insurance quotes for her, and she was telling me about how they have this massive, beautiful oak tree in their front yard, their rental property, but the roots got all intertwined with all the pipes and their foundation and whatnot. And that's when they found out they didn't have foundation coverage on their policy. This is a big one also that I've run into. Another example other than the foundation one is folks not knowing the difference between a landlord homeowner's policy and then just a primary owner-occupied policy.
Mm-hmm.
If you put tenants in your home, it's a completely different form, needs to be completely rewritten, that insurance policy, because, you know, a whole different set of liability concerns, of course, when you have tenants. And then if you do need to make a claim on the house, let's say hail hits the roof and the roof needs to be replaced, but there was tenants living in there and you had a homeowner's policy, you're out of luck 90% of the time.
Wow.
And you've just been paying for insurance for nothing.
Yeah.
So, definitely make sure that you know that there is a difference between whether you live there and then when you put tenants in there.
Important.
Keep an eye out for that.
Keep an eye. Well, thank you, Julia, for coming and teaching about the misconceptions and informing everyone about homeowners insurance and the importance. It's been great talking to you.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Julia.
Yeah.
I loved coming here today. I love seeing you guys' videos. So I'm so excited to be in one.
Yeah, I'm excited. We can, we need another Julia to come, and we can have a little Julia team.
If you are a Julia and you work in the home buying industry, hit us up.
Yeah, give us a call. Okay, Julia, so if someone wants to get in contact with you and talk to you about home insurance policies, how can they contact you?
Yeah, for sure. You can see my Instagram handle. That DM always works. Or email or phone number. Email is going to be Julia.Young@goosehead.com. Phone number is going to be 972-833-0838. Would love to chat.
Thank you for watching. If you like our content, please subscribe to our account on YouTube, and let us know what we should talk about next. See you soon.